What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTP Sports. Eagles, I want to say they made us feel a little bit better after this afternoon's Flyers game and all that stuff. But this was definitely a strange game in a win over the Commanders where you do clinch the division, which is very important. It's a very crucial step in this journey that we are going through with this Eagles team. First half, maybe want to rip my eyeballs out. Special teams, Jake Elliott, no, oh, might be time. It might be time to old Yeller, the Jake Elliott situation. Oh man, that was not good. That was not good and Jake Elliott has not been good for a little bit here in the past few weeks. He's been missing a lot of field goals. Field goals that he normally makes. A couple of 40-plus yarders. He missed every chance he had today, even though he did hit an extra pointer later in the game when your offense finally figured out something. But that first half was just so ugly. It kind of reverted back to the offense that it was before the game against the Raiders, where you were playing a lot out of shotgun. There was really nothing else utilized. There was nothing creative utilized. Not many passes to Dallas. Really no passes to Dallas Goedert. Not utilizing everybody. Force-feeding A.J. Brown. The run game really couldn't do anything. It kind of felt like it was a lot of the same. In that first half. From the bad. Second half, they figure it out. Also, Marcus Mariota does leave the game with an injury, so it does make it easier on the defensive standpoint when they got to throw Josh Johnson into the game and a throwback to the NFC Championship game against the 49ers and all that stuff. That's crazy. That is a flashback right there. So basically the rest of the game for the defense was just a simple piece of cake at that point. And the offense at that rate just had to do something, and thankfully the offense did do something. Saquon Barkley definitely unlocked some good runs in the second half, which was very fun to see. He gets a touchdown, gets a long run in there as well. Tank Bigsby gets a touchdown late in the game too. They finally started utilizing Dallas Goedert a lot more, which gets him a touchdown. And that was during a fucking situation where there were so many parts of one drive where you got so lucky. There was a lot of luck involved, because the penalties on the Commanders today was just Jesus fucking Christ. Specifically in that situation where you get a holding penalty and you get a passer interference penalty, which gets you to the fucking goal line. And then you struggle with the tush push twice in a row. And then eventually you false start on the tush push, where you have to go to like third and long. I believe it was like on the 15-yard line, they said, which was the situation with that play. And thankfully, it was a good throw by Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert in the end zone. Thank the fucking Lord. Oh my God, thank the fucking Lord there. There was also, some good plays. It was in the first half. Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith. There was a lot of good throws on that drive. Jalen Hurts definitely better throwing the ball today. They did also get a break because there would have been an interception, but there was also a penalty on the Commanders, which basically negated the entire play. So there definitely were a lot of breaks caught there. And specifically, on one of those drives where Jake Elliott missed fucking 50 field goals in a row, it felt like you got a break because Washington jumped offside and it got you a first down, and then eventually you got a closer fieldage to try to get Jake Elliott to kick a fucking field goal, and he still fucking missed it. Every single field goal that he missed, it was the same exact way. Just barely left. Just barely to the left of the goalpost. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. What the fuck? What the fuck? This dude's washed. This dude is washed. It's crazy. It's crazy. You're definitely going to have some discussions about the kicker. You're going to have to have some discussions. I don't think they're going to, just because it's Jake Elliott and the way that he did turn it up in the playoffs last year. He definitely was very crucial in your playoff run, your Super Bowl win last year. So there definitely is a factor to that. But it just feels like he's getting worse as the games go along. He's just missing just kicks that he normally makes. So you're really going to have a big question about Jake Elliott going into these last few weeks, going into the playoffs. It's not good. Not good. Especially you fumble on the fucking opening kickoff. What was it? What was it? I'm trying to think who was it that fumbled. Was it Shipley? Was it Covey? or whatever it was. I don't remember who. I think it was Shipley fumbling on the opening drive. Your defense holds them down to a field goal, but it's just like, holy shit, this first, what the fuck is going on? It was a complete 180 to what the Vegas game was. And granted, yes, you played Vegas last week. Vegas is their own brand of bad. The Commanders are bad. They're not on the brand of bad that Vegas is. So there definitely is a difference there. And I know a lot of people wanted to drive the narrative that, regardless that if they played Vegas or not, there were a lot of positives that you could have taken out of the offense the past week against Vegas, which I do tend to agree with, but there's just something still deep down in my mind to where I don't trust this team. And that first half brought those fears to life. Thankfully, they did turn it on in the second half just because Washington, at the end of the day, is a bad team. Their defense is that bad. So you were able to get something going there and figure something out. But that first half, man, it was just something very ugly, something that it reverted back to what it was. It reverted back to what it was, to what you normally were this entire season, and that's just something that I fear. And I really do hate at that one scrum at the end of the game where, granted, that's what Washington does at this point when they're getting beat down. They result to fucking violence. They result to starting a brawl. What was it? Tyler Steen that was throwing punches, and then Tyler Steen eventually got thrown out of the game. Hopefully, it's not that idiotic to where he gets a suspension. Hopefully, it's just a fine. I kind of hate that you got baited into that entire thing. That's just, I know it's a little bit nitpicky there, but especially still when you don't know the status of Lane Johnson going into the next 2 weeks. And I'm sure Lane Johnson probably isn't going to play until the playoffs. They're going to give him as much rest as possible. But that's still just like, I'm not the biggest fan of that. Not the biggest fan of that overall. But just if you're looking into the stats of the game entirely. Jalen Hurts, definitely still one of the better Jalen Hurts games. There were very few things that he did wrong, in my personal opinion. There were some ugly sacks that he did take, but overall, Jalen tonight was 22 of 30, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Took 2 sacks. Definitely utilized in the run game more again. So they were, some designed runs for Jalen. He ran the ball 7 times for 40 yards. So it definitely does open up a lot more, and it kind of felt like that was more in the second half, where they were going back to what they were doing against Vegas, and that was trying to utilize everything possible. Saquon Barkley, 21 carries for 132 yards. He had that 48 yard long run that he had in the fourth quarter. In totality, it was a very, first half it was very heavy A.J. Brown and some Devontae Smith, and then the second half eventually got a little bit more balanced when you started throwing Dallas Goedert in there, when you started throwing Dotson in there as well. A.J. Brown, 9 receptions for 95 yards. There were a couple of throws in the first half where maybe A.J. could have had, or maybe it was a bad throw from Jalen or something like that. It was one of the plays where A.J. got double-teamed, and then it was the interception that got called back because there was a penalty on Washington and all that stuff. There was a floaty pass from Jalen Hurts that would have been a first down if maybe the pass wasn't as floaty or something like that. It was weird. But then Jalen had a beautiful dart right into the hands of A.J. Brown. I believe it was on a third down, or it was one of the drives, I believe, where they went on for the touchdown in that first half. But like I said, Goddard had 32 yards. Dotson had 3 catches. Tank Bigsby, when he got his runs late in the game, 4 carries for 37 yards. He had a touchdown in there. Got some long chunk yards in there as well. Defensively, Brandon Graham got another sack, so he just continues to turn back the clock and find that youth, find that energy. Dory Jackson got torched. Cooper DeJean had an interception against Josh Johnson. Jahad Campbell had to come into the game because Nakobe Dean left with a hamstring injury, so that's definitely something that you got to look out for. So I'm sure Nakobe Dean probably won't play the last 2 weeks. They're probably going to rest him up as much as possible. What else? That was more notable in this game. Quinyon Mitchell breaking up a couple of passes there as well. He just overall, getting to the quarterback. How many times was Mariota was sacked once, and I believe that was by Brandon Graham. Josh Johnson got sacked. Jordan Davis was a beast, actually. Jordan Davis had a fucking hell of a game. He was fucking everywhere. Jordan Davis is having a very good season, and I feel like that's something that's been going, not talked about enough. That's just how good Jordan Davis has been on the entire year. But the dude is everywhere, making plays, just making himself, his presence felt. Dude's been very good. He is lighting it up, and it's very fun to watch the Jordan Davis experience just overall from the entirety of this season. So that's definitely something that's very good there. What else? Kicking. Just Jake Elliott. He made all of his extra points, according to this. But field goal attempts, man, just bad. Just bad, 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 bad. Crazy. It was that bad. You know, Jalen Hurts had a situation where he fumbled the ball and recovered it. Will Shipley had the fumble on the opening kickoff. Man, it like to start this game, dude, it was very ugly. Special teams were getting fucking destroyed. There was even a sequence when I believe it was another kickoff or a punt, where I think it was a kickoff where Shipley got the ball in the end zone, but he literally just like second guessed himself whether he wanted to take the touchback or take the ball out. It's crazy. Like he hesitated for like fucking 5 seconds. It felt like. I'm sure it felt like 500 seconds to him on the field, but like, dude, you're in the end zone. You could take the knee. You could take the touchback. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Insane. Insane. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. You know, Saquon Barkley got to 1,000 rushing yards on the season, so that's back-to-back for him. He's the first. Jeff Kerr said he's the first Eagle to do that since LaShawn McCoy, back from 2013 to 2014. So that's nice there. You know, obviously everybody's going to be talking about the Eagles being the first, you know, team in the NFC East, first team in the NFC East to repeat winning the division 2 years in a row for the first time in like 20 fucking years. So that's definitely going to be talked about a lot. The Cowboys have been officially eliminated from the playoffs, so that's very funny. What else is there? Yeah, realistically, I guess this last 2 weeks will just like be focused on seeding and all that stuff, because really I don't think you realistically have a chance for the number 1 seed. I really think that thing is already out of the wash. I don't think that's physically possible for this team anymore to get that number 1 seed. So after this win tonight, the Eagles do have the 3 seeds, so they do have a chance to get the number 2 seed, which is also important there, because the Seattle Seahawks, they have the number 1 seed now because of that crazy comeback win that they had on Thursday night. The Bears, they have the number 2 seed, and they would have the tiebreaker over the Eagles regardless of what happens tonight against them in Green Bay. So that definitely will be interesting to see what happens there, because right now Chicago is 10-4. They lose their 10-5. I think they would still have the number 2 seed because of the tiebreaker they have with the Eagles. So that's where that tiebreaker comes into place. Yeah, so right now you're 10 and you're a third seed. Your third seed. Seattle has number 1 seed. Chicago 2 seed. You 3 seed. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7-7 have the 4 seed. Oh god, that's dumb. The Rams, they have the 5th seed. The 49ers, the Packers, the Lions, they're still in the hunt right there. So those guys are fighting for the wild card spots, even in the Panthers too. I think they have a big game coming up this week as well. So so right now the Rams, they did clinch a playoff spot, so basically them or Seattle is going to have the wild card. So it's going to be an interesting final 2 weeks here. I think if Chicago wins, they get a playoff berth. So this is a very important game for Chicago to win as well. So we'll see, because, you know, San Fran's still hunting for the wild card. Green Bay, Detroit, Carolina. Chicago technically would still be hunting for a wild card spot at that point. So it'll be very interesting to see what these final weeks do. But right now, in terms of seeding, I really don't think the Eagles can do much. So I think they're just going to be staying where they're at. So I wonder if they take these last 2. I don't think they're going to do it against the Bills. I think they'll do it in the final week against the Commanders, when probably everything is more set in stone. That's when you'll see a lot of the backups play. Probably that'll be a game where Jalen rests. That'll be a game where Tanner McKee starts, where you get a lot of the backup guys out there that really aren't as crucial. So I think that'll be more of the case there as well. So it'll be interesting. We'll see. We'll see. But it definitely was important, you know. Overall, you know, the second half definitely was a lot better. They went back to incorporating some of the stuff, you know, from under center, you know, getting that mix in there with under center and shotgun. They definitely went away with that in the first half. Like I said, it's just that rearing negativity thought in the back of my mind with this offense right now, and that's what showed in the first half. That's just something that's going to scare me going into the playoffs realistically, because I'm still even trying to think, like, who would they. So right now, if the way the playoffs were set. Let's see, playoff. So technically Carolina and Tampa Bay, they're still fighting for the division, so that's very interesting there. But Tampa Bay does have the tiebreaker over Carolina based on best win percentage in common games. So that's why the next few wins are very important for Carolina as well. So that'll be interesting. But I'm sure if you're the 3rd seed, you would play the 6th seed. You would play. It's interesting. I'll definitely have to see, but I would assume maybe you'll see San Fran, maybe you'll see Green Bay or something like that. I have no idea. I have no idea how the playoffs will shape out. So, right now, like I said, I don't think seeding really I really don't think they could control their own destiny with seeding at this point. I think it's just going to stand where it stands. It's really just, there's so much parity with the other divisions right now in terms of what teams are going to finish in the division and what not, and the wild card. So, I guess it's good that you got the division, which was always going to be the case at that point. Always going to be the case. So right now, the Packers and the Bears are starting right now, and the Packers have the opening drive. So we'll see. We'll see. Did the Packers just fumble the ball? Did the Packers just fucking fumble the ball? Or did they blow it dead? They blew it dead. They blew it dead. Oh, God. But yeah, the sketchy start. Sketchy start. Sketchy start, man. That was insane how sketchy that start was. You can't even describe how poorly it went. I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. Let's see. Let's see. I don't think there's anything much. Just a lot of people talking about the fucking division winning and all that crap. There definitely were a lot more breaks for Saquon Barkley, which was definitely nice to see. So hopefully there is a little bit of, rhythm to that on a week-to-week basis. Oh my God, the Bears almost intercepted that ball too. Holy shit. What else? What else is there? I'm just trying to see the breakdown on all that stuff. It kind of felt like the fucking penalties were a lot. It was only 5-5 for both teams. But of course, the offensive line penalties are still a problem. False starts, holding penalties and all that stuff. A lot of penalties on the fucking offensive line. That's always going to be annoying. That's always going to rear its ugly head just because the offensive line is so undisciplined this year. So, we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to see how it plays out over the next few weeks going into the playoffs. So in terms of the rest of the schedule, they will play next Sunday after Christmas in Buffalo. Yeah, that'll be the 28th. That's a 4:25 game. And then the Commanders game at the final game of the season, that's still a flex game, so it's still to be determined what day that's going to be. But at that point, that game's not going to matter. That'll probably be a 1 o'clock game or something like that. So that'll be basically a nothing burger type of a game. But I would assume that game for Buffalo is going to be very important in terms of their seeding as well. So what with Buffalo and all that stuff, yeah, that definitely will be a very important game for Buffalo in terms of their division. So that'll definitely be weird to see right there. But overall, it was definitely, got the win. That's all that's important. Just hopefully the stuff that they are doing positively, just hopefully that's the stuff that carries through as we get into the playoffs and not the ugliness that we saw in the beginning of the game that just keeps rearing its ugly head. Hopefully that's not the case. Let's get to the Anytime Hotline, and we'll get to your calls. Then we'll get to some of you guys in the chat, then we'll end it off here. Doing 2 streams today, so definitely cutting it short probably is the best possible thing, and also with the fucking internet, with the way that it was this afternoon. I'm not taking any fucking chances. I'm not. So let's get to the calls. We actually do have a text message first. This is from Austin. Austin saying he was at the game. I'm at the game tonight with family. What a fun time. Every 5 seconds, an Eagles chant rang out. Commies fans abandoned ship early. It was great. Well, I'm happy that you had a good time with your family there, Austin. Wonder if that was a Christmas present or something like that. So, hopefully, great. Glad that you had a good time. Glad that you had a good time there. So let's get to this first call. It's from Franklin. Then we'll get to Sean's call.
Well, the streak for the winner of the NFC East has been broken. Yay. But man, this game was dreadful. I mean, the first half was not great. Jake Elliott was, just trash. And play calling was kind of, bummy, but
First half
they found a way to win.
First half was bad.
Should have blown them out, but whatever. But yeah, overall, okay win. But man, we need to move on from Jake Elliott. He sucks.
That's funny. Yeah, they're gonna have to old yeller Jake Elliott at some point. They're gonna have to take a risk because right now he just can't do it. He just can't do it. He's washed. He just can't. Got to old yeller it. Seriously, on that drive where he was missing like the 50 field goals in a row, I was losing my mind. I was losing my barnacles. I was laughing like a maniac. Seriously, that was funny. I hate laughing like that, but that was funny. That was funny. It's the laugh where you're like in pain. Oh my, you can't help but laugh. That's how painful it was. Oh my God, that was bad. Let's get to Sean's call.
Thought for a minute there the Eagles were going to go full-on Flyers and blow that game, but you know, it's very simple with the Eagles. I mean, you know, most of the time they're going to get a great defensive performance. You just have to move the ball enough on the ground. And I mean, they're starting to get some things done with Barkley. I'd still like to see Tank Bigsby given more carries. I don't understand why you're not giving this guy the ball more often during games. It's always Will Shipley. Special teams was atrocious tonight. I mean, you really have to start spotlighting Jake Elliott. I mean, you switch the long snapper and then hasn't fixed the problem. I mean, definite concern there and some moderate concern for Nakobe Dean. That guy is the Avante Maddox of this year's team. He's always getting hurt. You can't help the club when you're in the tub. Also, in passing, got to question Dan Quinn's coaching here. I mean, you talk about just giving up. You're down with 4 minutes to go. I think it's like 4th and 4, and you're going to punt. I mean, that's a little strange to me, but congratulations. We won the division. Still a lot to work out. But again, you get in the dance, you have a puncher's chance this year as much as any.
Yeah, that definitely is a truth right there. This year is like so wide open that even with the way the Eagles are playing, they can still find their way to win and all that stuff. But the Dan Quinn thing, I think that's more of like okay, we got our third string quarterback in here, and not really going to do anything right. He knew the game was over at that point. He knew. I know that's like soft and like loser coaching right there, but I can also understand it at the same time because you got Josh Johnson in the game. Really not going to do much. Really not. Yeah. Time to old yeller Jake Elliott. That's the summary of this entire thing. Got to old yeller it. Same thing with Sam Harrison with the Flyers. Got to old yeller both of them. Got to old yeller both Jake Elliott and Sam Harrison. Got to do it. Got to do it. Let's get to the chat here. Then we'll end it off. Thank God that NFC East title won't be going to the freaking Cowboys. At least the Cowboys are officially eliminated from the playoff contention. At least they are still the same old Cowboys. Tyler, not a very good first half, but we turned it up in the second. We're champs. Sadly, now it seems Jake can't make. Yep. That is simply the fact. Tank and Barkley were good enough tonight. Missy Elliott and San Fran is the 6th seed right now from Frank. Yeah, so most likely we'd be playing San Fran, I guess. If that's the case, everything shapes out the way it is. But yeah, that'll do it for tonight, everybody. 2 streams. Might as well keep both of them short. But I appreciate you all for tuning in as always. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Don't forget to drop a like. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Does me a great deal of service with the YouTube algorithm. Always does. So, yeah. Appreciate y'all. Tomorrow, barring any breaking news, probably won't be anything tomorrow. So, yeah, it'll be an off day for all of us. Weird. With a Sunday off. But, yeah. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. And, yeah.